This video is sponsored by Loot Crate.
Hey guys, welcome to my Geek Talk. Today we're going to discuss Vader Down, the entire series. So that starts from, I believe, Vader number 1, Vader Down number 1, and then it goes to Vader 13, Star Wars 13, Vader 14, Star Wars 14, and then it ends with Darth Vader 15. It's a crossover comic between the Star Wars series and the Darth Vader series, and it's this, integrated comic book series. I did do a review for the very first issue. This one's going to be more of a review for the back end of Vader Down. You can see it here somewhere. But yes, overall, I liked the entire series, but I thought the ending was a little bit anticlimactic, or it just didn't make sense to me. I'll get to that when we get to the end part of it. But yeah, there was things to be enjoyed from this comic for sure, but I don't think it's as good as it could have been, or how good it was being hyped for. It was like, oh, Vader Down, like he's gonna be, he does kill rebels. He kills a lot of them. Like at the very first panel of the comic, he's surrounded by a bunch of rebels, like 24 or something like that, and instead of just doing force chokes on all of them, or saber throw all of them, he does something very smart. And that's the way he fights actually throughout the comic. He fights very smart. He basically unplugs or unsnaps all their thermal detonators on their vest. He basically just unsnaps all of them at the same time, and they all just blow up. And then there's another section where he salvages his TIE fighter so that it can still fire, so that when an airspeeder comes at him, he triggers it with the force and destroys it. He does stuff like that, and it's really cool the way they have Vader fighting, because he's not only powerful, but he's very intelligent with how he uses the force, and that's something I get into with my Versus series if you guys aren't familiar with that. I also do hypothetical battles on this channel, and that's one of the things that I admire most about Vader, is because while he did lose a lot of his potential because he got a lot of his limbs cut off, he still is very powerful because of the way he uses the force. Also, we get a big breakdown on basically Leia's mentality, Luke's mentality, and Han's mentality. And actually, guys, I actually like Han Solo in this comic book. Yes, I know some of you guys know that I don't really I'm not very fond of Han Solo as a character, but there's a point where, Luke has crashed down with Vader, and, it's this really brave and heroic thing, and then Han's like, all right, cool, let's go save him. And then Leia's like, no, this is too important. We have Vader. We have him pinned down alone, no reinforcements or anything like that. Luke would understand, our priority is Vader, and then, Han's like, what? We gotta help our friend, and it's very funny how we have Leia, and I like that they depicted Leia that way because she is very driven. She's very driven to end Vader and to end the Empire and to be on task. Like the first time we see her in A New Hope, she's back talking straight to Vader and Grand Moff Tarkin, and she's no different here. And I liked how Han has a heart, and that's something that he kind of learned from at the end of A New Hope, and we even see it in Empire. Like when Luke was out on Hoth by himself when he got attacked by the Wampa, Han's like, I don't care if there's a storm going out and I might die, I'm gonna go save my friend. And that's I like how that is being showcased here, and how good of a friend and how good friends Han and Luke are, even though they butt heads, because they at this time both like Leia, even though Luke doesn't know that it's his sister. They still have a respect for each other, and they've gone through some stuff together, and I like that. I liked Han a lot in this comic book, and I liked his decision to save Luke. Also, we got the inevitable battle between the droids. So we had BT and 000 off against R2D2 and C-3PO. It's very funny because BT and R2, they had whatever droid speak they were speaking, they were cursing at each other, and then BT's like, oh my god, I never heard such language or anything like that. And then BT takes C-3PO's arms and all that kind of stuff. It was cool. It wasn't, I guess, something I was looking forward to, or I didn't really care for. I just really liked BT and 000 on their own when they do their stuff. Again, like I've said in the past, every time they're on panel, they're the best thing about that comic book, really, to be honest. Though they're the two best characters of the new canon. I wasn't like, oh yeah, they got to meet each other or anything like that, but it was a cool thing to have. We also had Chewbacca fighting against the new Wookiee, the black fur Wookiee. I forget his name. It's Kartaran, I don't know. It's a Wookiee name, so it's kind of hard to pronounce. And they have their fight, which is cool. You have Wookiee versus Wookiee, so you see two brutes just clashing at each other. At one point, the other Wookiee has a big boulder, is about to smash Chewbacca. I was confused a little bit. There was one point where Vader and Leia are facing off to each other, and he has her at his mercy, and he has a vision or whatever. He looks back, and she's like, oh, your mind's distorted, and she runs away. And I was like, what's happening? But it didn't make sense in the moment, but then later on in the comic, it's kind of explained that he was sensing Commander Carbon. But I don't think it didn't make sense. All of the, just to get into it, I think all of the Star Wars comics, the iterations of the Star Wars Vader Down spinoff, were better than the Vader portions, which is kind of weird when it's about Vader and the Vader comic itself isn't as good as Star Wars comic. And that's kind of how it's been like over the past year since we've had Darth Vader in Star Wars. I felt like Star Wars has been better drawn, better composition, better color choices, better writing. That still is the exact same thing, and it's even more apparent now because they're telling the same story. Like every time we cut back between each issue, I'm like, oh yeah, I love Star Wars, the Star Wars comics so much more. That's very much highlighted here. So it is kind of jarring every time you kind of go back and forth, especially if you don't like the Vader comic or you don't like its art style or anything like that. But it's still good, you know. The whole series was good. And speaking about Commander Carbon, we probably get the closest thing we will get between Vader and Grievous in the canon, because Commander Carbon, of course, is a Mon Calamari who has been transformed, much like Grievous the Kalish, who is like, you know, this half robot, half sentient being situation going on, and he has 4 lightsabers and he's fighting Vader, and he's like, I don't need, or the guy's like, oh, I have 4 lightsabers, you're outmatched, and like Vader's like, I don't need 4 lightsabers, I have the dark side, and he like, you know, totally like just force pushes him away. So that was pretty cool. It was very cool seeing that kind of a fight and to see how competent Vader is, because a lot of people who have criticisms about Vader is like, oh, he's too slow, he's so clunky. That's like, that's more of a movie thing because they're very limited on what they could do. But if you look at Lords of the Sith, or you look at this now in canon, Vader is pretty competent to fight against other people, like other not force users, but people who are up to speed with force users. Also, the whole reason everybody is on this planet is because Luke found a Jedi temple, and there's a point where he goes to the temple and he actually senses Ben, and then Vader has a vision at that temple as well. They both have, it's kind of cool, they had a similar experience but different things going on. Luke hears Ben and he's like, you're not ready, like you shouldn't be here, like you're not ready for this. And basically he's saying that, like, you know, Vader's near, if you guys meet right now, like it's no good. And then Vader has a vision about his past, about, you know, Qui-Gon Jinn like bringing him to the council, Obi-Wan Kenobi saying that he was the chosen one, all that stuff. He's like basically going through his life again. But I thought that was very interesting that they both had force visions at the same time. But again, they didn't really meet each other, which is good. I don't think they, like I said before, I don't think they should meet each other again. But I do like finally that Vader is specifically on a path for Luke. I want some more stuff. Like, I really like Shadows of the Empire, the novel back from 1996, because it got so deep into Vader's mind and what he was thinking and his plans with Luke. And I kind of want that from this comic, and we haven't really got that. I mean, also it's comic book, so you're not going to get too much into people's heads. It's more about the visual. You get Carbon versus Vader, like that kind of stuff. You get Chewbacca versus the other Wookiee. You're gonna get more visual and visceral stuff, not so much, you know, introspective stuff. But that's kind of what I wanted. That's what I want out of this. But yeah, like I was saying, I'm not a fan of the conclusion, and really it's one element of the conclusion. As Carbon and Vader are fighting, Leia has Vader in her sights, at her mercy. She has a vision, which is cool. Like, I like that part, that, you know, she has a vision. She has a vision of what I assume is the second Death Star blowing up, or it could be Alderaan blowing up. It wasn't really specified, and it wasn't really very clear. But then she just turns away. Like, this whole entire series, she was gun-ho about killing Vader, to the point where in one of the issues, she's okay with bombing her position, even though Vader's right there, and killing herself if Vader dies as well. And it's like, so you're just gonna stop because you got a force vision of something blowing up? Like, what? That didn't make any sense. Like, that had no explanation to it. It didn't make sense in the natural progression of how we've been following Leia this whole time. Like, what? Why would that stop her from killing Vader when he's right there in front of her? That was weird. That really kind of threw me off, and it happens right at the beginning of the last issue, and I was like, what's going on? And then in the rest of the comic, I don't really feel like there was much of a, like, what really happened, you know? Like, the only thing that really got wrapped up, I feel, was the Commander Carbon plotline. That got wrapped up pretty cleanly. I mean, I guess also, like I said before, I like the connection between Han and Luke, but everything else feels like kind of a reset. Luke still doesn't know what the heck to do with his journey. Leia doesn't kill Vader. Obviously, she can, because, you know, there's movies after this, but there wasn't even a logical reason for her to stop. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't make sense to me. But yeah, like, the ending kind of almost snuffed the whole rest of the experience, because it was so like, what was this for? Like, there was all this hype about Vader Down, and it didn't really amount to too much going on, if that makes sense. But I would still recommend it. Like, it's a good comic. Like I said, I definitely do prefer the Star Wars issues over the Vader issues. So for that, take that as you will. I don't know. I guess I would recommend it, but I don't know. I would recommend it, but the ending was kind of off. And there's stuff in here that you would probably like, but ultimately it doesn't live up to the hype of what Vader Down was supposed to be. So yeah, that's it. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching. Peace, love, and may the Force be with you. Always.
What I've seen in a lot of debates is that people, including myself, either lowball Mace or lowball Sidious to achieve their point.
Throw a grenade at him. Alright, now critical strike. Oh, I killed him. Oh no, I didn't mean to throw two. Oh, that's such a waste. Such a waste.